Okay, hi brothers and sisters, we're back for another video. This is the Isaiah 48 one. Hopefully we'll get to wisdom in the next video. We have a lot of information to try to keep track of here. But it's really informative, and once I got going, I kept rolling along because there was just so many other passages that I knew that easily factored into it. So hopefully we'll get to wisdom chapter, it is 9 and maybe 10, I don't know when I get looking at it, I haven't done that yet, and make my notes. We'll do that in the next video, I hope. I'll say it that way, unless something else comes up that prohibits me from doing that, and that could be a whole nother different video. So we're going to take a look at Isaiah 48. But first, we're going to read these 3 verses, and then we're going to go in on the commentary on them, because this is very important, along with other passages, of course. Let me see here. I do have it up here. It's funny I didn't pull up the whole 3 verses all at once. Anyway, Habakkuk 2, we'll begin verse 1. What does it say? It says, I will stand at my guard post. What's your tower? Calls it a tower here. I will stand at my guard post and station myself on the ramparts. I will watch to see what she will say to me, and how I should answer when corrected. Then the Lord answered me, write down this vision and clearly inscribe it on tablets, so that a herald may run with it. Now, this is one interpretation of it. There's different interpretations. That a herald may run with it. Okay, we keep going here. Verse 3. For the vision awaits an appointed time. It testifies of the end, and it does not lie. Though it lingers, wait for it, since it will surely come, and it will not delay. There's clear spillage here, spillover into Isaiah 48, and you can do this for yourself in case I don't get to touch on many of the passages that connects to this. I really would like to. But there's clear spillage over when you get reading the commentaries on these verses, which we're going to do on one of them anyway, to Isaiah 48, Hosea 13, verses 13 to 15. Now, if we don't get it done here today, you really should go in and read up on these words yourself. Go in on Strong's, understand what they mean, and you'll be able to connect them for yourselves. We're also going to take a look at a couple other passages here that I have pulled up. So then the Lord replied, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets, so that a herald may run with it. For the vision awaits an appointed time. It testifies of thee, and it does not lie. Though it lingers, wait for it, since it will surely come, and it will not delay. So here we're going to go in on the commentary. Do I have the commentary already pulled up? Yep, I do. Right here. And I have a bunch of notes. Do you believe I actually made notes? This particular passage, I always gave verse 3. In 2004, I had a dream, and I know you've heard about it. You don't want to hear about it. And it was the first real dream, I can honestly say, came from God. It was in Technicolor. I'd never had one like it. It was all I had this sense that it was an allegory. And I wouldn't understand what that dream meant until 2011, 12, but then really 13, I began to understand it. And at the time, about a month later, I don't know what the time frame would be now. It's been so long, I can't remember. I don't know, month, 2 months, whatever. Later, after the dream, when I still was standing there going, well, gee, I don't know what this dream means. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with this dream. Why would the Lord give this dream to me? It didn't make an ounce of sense to me at the time why God would give me this dream without any sense of understanding of it. But what the Lord did do was give me this verse back in 2004, that at one point this vision would begin to speak, and when it began to speak, it would really speak. And this was the verse, Habakkuk 2:3. At that time, that verse will speak. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. That's what the Lord, and it was one of those points where I just opened up the Bible and the Lord just took me to Habakkuk 2:3. The vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the time it shall speak, and it shall not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Now, these are the commentaries on Bible Hub to Habakkuk 2:3. I'll post the link below the video to them. And we're going to read through some of it. All right? So I did make. Okay, so we want to skip that one altogether. So we'll read these two first. And like I said, we'll highlight some of the passages here in these commentaries and see how they actually does draw our connection to other passages. So for the vision, this is the Ellicott's commentary for English readers. We're just going to read here and there different interpretations by these commentaries. And then we're going to give you what our comment is on it, and most of you will probably already know what it is. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, better, for the vision is to have its appointed day, and it pants for the end. Now, when I thought of pant, the one thing they teach women in childbirth is how to pant, how to breathe properly when you're in childbirth. And this obvious phrase, which is through most of these commentaries, will say that that is the proper interpretation of the passage. It pants for the end. And it automatically, as you will know, most who's been with us on this channel, took us to Isaiah 42. Now will I go forth as a travailing woman, I will destroy and devour at once. So it made me think of her panting for the end, okay? And it's because she's in travail, right? For the vision is to have its appointed day, and it pants for the end, and it shall not disappoint. It pants for the day of completion, which shall do its justice. This is important, justice, because it's going to take us to those angels eventually in Jude 1. We ain't going to go there yet. We're going to understand what's at play with those angels in Jude 1, just by understanding all of this context. So it longs to fulfill its destiny, all right? Now we're going to go to Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges. Further explains, Habakkuk 2:3 further explains the reason both for writing the vision and for writing it plainly. The vision bears upon the future, and it must be preserved. Also, it is of common interest to all, learned or unlearned. So it don't matter whether you know the Bible or not. If the truth is important to you, then this is going to matter to you, this vision that is appointed for the future. So it is of common interest to all, learned or unlearned, in the speedy understanding of it. So the speedy understanding means that it's something that you can fathom, right? From the greatest to the least, you can fathom this vision, this understanding that's going to be made plain to you. Understanding of it will quiet minds that are perplexed. Now, there's no two ways about it. You know, I did a lot of study in the Bible over the years. I think a lot of us who takes a real keen interest in understanding the truth of God, we take a keen interest in that. But there ain't one of us that can't say how perplexing the Bible is to us at times. We don't understand it. It seems to have no real clear focus in one sense, while in another sense it clearly focuses on one thing in particular. I think we know this, right? We can say that. So, which one did I not want to read? Okay. We're going to completely skip Matthew's Henry concise notes. Yeah, because it's not all that important. I don't think. Not with the other commentaries that gets made here. So we're going to go to pulpit commentary. I don't know, do I want to read it all? Okay, so we will read Let me see. So, I mean, we could read it. It doesn't have any really key findings to my way of thinking that would really trigger me to go to a particular passage like some of the others do. The reason is given why the oracle is to be committed to writing. It is yet for an appointed time. The vision will not be accomplished immediately, but in the period fixed by God. So that takes you into the passages of Daniel 8:17, 19, Daniel 11:27, and 35. Others explain pointeth to a yet future time, but at the end it shall speak. The verb is literally breathes or pants. Hence the clause is better rendered, and it panteth, equivalent to hasteth towards the end. The prophecy personified yearns for its fulfillment in the end, not merely at the destruction of the literal Babylon, but in the time of the end, the last time, the Messianic age, when the world power, typified by Babylon, so there's no doubt who's in control of the world's power, it's Babylon, should be overthrown, and not lie, because it deceiveth not. It is not in vain. It will certainly come to pass. Wait for it, for the vision and its accomplishment, because it will surely come. The author of the Epistle to the Hebrews quotes the Septuagint version of this clause, applying it to the last coming of the Messiah. Now you understand, the first coming of the Messiah was symbolized by the stone rejected, and that was the daughter of Israel, the Holy One. And we'll show you how this all verifies it and validates it. The original passage does not primarily refer to the coming of the Messiah, but as the full and final accomplishment of the prophecy doubtless belongs to that age. Yes, it does. It absolutely does point you to the Holy One. That's exactly what it does. So this is the one that I got a lot of information out of in particular. There's some other ones here too. So let's start reading this particular one, and we'll make our comments as we go. Okay? So Habakkuk 2:1-3, this is the Keel and Delitzsch, I can't say that, biblical commentary on the Old Testament. Habakkuk 2:1-3. Form the introduction to the Word of God, which I'm going to say prophetess. Okay, we're going to translate everywhere it's got a he and a prophet. We're going to go her and prophetess for a change. Okay, yeah. Well, that's not right. Yeah, it is. It's absolutely right. Form the introduction to the Word of God, which the prophetess receives in reply to her cry of lamentation addressed to the Lord in Habakkuk 1:12-7. Habakkuk 2:1. I will stand upon my watchtower. What's a watchtower? We discovered it was your argument. That's really what your defense, your watchtower or your high tower is really there for, to preserve you. But watch what this is. I will stand upon my watchtower, station myself upon the fortress, and will watch to see what, not what he will say, but what she will say, what she will say in me, and what I answer to my complaint. So there's a complaint here at large, right? Watch what the complaint is as we read, okay? And this is absolutely the complaint of the holy witness in the earth. Then Jehovah answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon the tables, that those that may run, who may read it. Habakkuk 2:3. For the vision is yet for the appointed end, and strives after the end, and does not lie. If it tarry, wait for it will come. It does not fail. Habakkuk 2:1 contains the prophetess's conversation with herself. After she poured out her trouble at the judgment announced in a lamentation to the Lord, Habakkuk 1:12-17, she encourages herself. Now this is after a pause, which we have to imagine after Habakkuk 1:17, to wait for the answer from God. Okay, let's scroll down here. I find this absolutely fascinating. Okay, Where is it? See, it's so easy to lose your place. Answer from God. I'll get there. She resolves to place herself upon her observatory and look out for the revelation which the Lord, that's 136, yeah, will give to her questions. So she has questions, she has a complaint, and she's awaiting an answer. All right, there's another reason why she awaits that answer. Which the Lord will give to her questions. Mishmerith, a place of waiting or observing. Matzor, a fortress, i.e. a watchtower or spying tower. Standing upon the watch and stationing herself upon the fortification are not to be understood as something external. This is what it is supposed, implying that the prophetess went up to a steep and lofty place, or to an actual tower, that she might be far away from the noise and bustle of men, and there turn her eyes towards heaven and direct her collected minds towards God, to look out for a revelation. For nothing is known of any such custom as this, since the case is mentioned in Exodus 33:21 and 1 Kings 19:11 as extraordinary preparations for God to reveal herself are of a totally different kind from this. Okay, so they're saying actually going up to a high place and putting your hands out to the heavens. There's no example of that really taking place in the scriptures. So they're internalizing it and telling you that it means when you seek the truth inside of yourself, you actually go up to a high place when you do that, right? You go to a higher thinking, a higher plane of thinking when you do that. Okay. As extra preparations for God to reveal herself are of a totally different kind from this. And the fact that Balaam, right, the soothsayer, went up to the top of a bare height to look out for a revelation from God, that was in Numbers 23:3, furnishes not proof that the true prophets, true prophetesses of Jehovah did the same, but is rather a heathenism or heathenish feature, which shows that it was because Balaam did not rejoice in the possession of a firm prophetic word that he looked out for revelations from God in significant phenomena of nature. So that's what they do today, don't they? They look to the stars and the moon and the sun for the signs, and yet they're saying in this commentary that that's not from God. You search the word for the truth. And that's a fact. That's a fact. We know that that's a fact, don't we? Because we've studied it. Jeremiah 23. What does it say in Jeremiah 23? And it has to do not only with having a vision in the sense of they're all the time getting on here saying a vision from God, a vision from God. A vision from God was a rarity. It does not happen every night you go to bed. And if it does, then you might want to question where your visions are coming from. Or going up to a rooftop to worship the hosts of heaven, which was where we've eventually come to. We've come to the point where we're really in heathenism. What am I looking for? I'm past it. When we go up to our rooftops and expect an answer from God through the sun, moon, and stars. There we go. What does it say in Jeremiah 23 that validates this? Yeah, we got to find the verse first. You are to search the word. Does it say? And it does not say that visions won't be gave. It's saying that those that search the word and looks for the truth is far more important than those who waits for a vision. And it's the same as, those who thinks going to your rooftop and looking for the signs in the heavens is the way to do it. Where is it? Right here, it's verse 28. The prophet that had the dream, let him tell a dream. Go ahead, tell it. Right? And the one, she that hath my word, let her speak my word faithfully. Because this is how God compares a dream to the word. For what is the chaff, your vision, your dream, to the wheat? To the what will really feed you, which is the word. So where we found the truth sealed up in here was actually in the little book. That's where we actually find it sealed up, in the little book. That's what it means to look for the truth. That's what it means. It doesn't mean to wait for revelations from the sun, moon, and stars, and the Mazzaroth, and the constellations, because that's really what all of the heathenistic prophets did. They went up to the rooftops. We see them doing that in Isaiah 22, and she says to them, why have you gone up to your rooftops? I have kept you safe. None of your men have died by the sword. I kept you safe. I kept all of you safe. And yet you have gone up to your rooftops to worship the hosts of heaven. You weren't to do that. And that's just what this is saying. Balaam the soothsayer went up to the top of the bare heights to look out for a revelation from God. It furnishes not proof that the true prophetesses of Jehovah did the same, but is rather a heathenish feature, which shows that it was because Balaam did not rejoice in the possession of a firm prophetic word, that she looked out for revelations from God in significant phenomena of nature. The words of our verse are to be taken figuratively or internally. Actually, we would argue that, again, we see the truth wrapped up in the little book, and once we find that, we've got it pinned down. Like the appointment of the watchwomen in Isaiah 21:6, the figure is taken from the custom of ascending high places for the purpose of looking into the distance, and simply expresses the spiritual preparation of the prophetess's soul for hearing the word of God within, i.e., the collecting of her mind by quietly entering into herself and meditating upon the word and testimonies of God. Now, Cyril and Calvin brings out the first idea. Thus, the latter observes that the watchtower is the recess of the mind, where we withdraw ourselves from the world, and then adds by way of explanation, down we go, the prophetess asunder, the name of the watchtower implies that she extricates herself, as it were, from the thoughts of the flesh. That's right. You don't even know who I am. You approach to me with the vain traditions of men. I write the truth upon your heart, right? The thoughts of the flesh, because there would be no end or measure if she wished to judge according to her own perceptions, which is why we can't rely on the flesh and all that. You do have to retreat within your soul and spirit into the high place, right? High places of your mind. According to her own perception, whilst others find in it nothing more than firm continuance and reliance upon the word of God. And that may be true if we had it. If what we truly had was that little book sealed up, but we find that we do not have the little book sealed up. We have a lot of blasphemies against the Holy One of God. And we're going to get into that too. So we're going to read paragraph 2 also of this. So note, Theodoret very appropriately compares the words of the Asaph in Psalm 73:16. Asaph means your gatherer, right? And we link the word the gatherer to the one who gathers, the Proverbs in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, which is also your preacher. We're also going to hit the term preacher here in a minute. I forget which one does that. Setting the case in order is what that Koheleth does, and that's a feminine. It's a feminine is what it is. So when I thought to know this, it was too painful for me until I entered into the sanctuaries of God and gave heed to their end, and observes. And there says the prophetess, I will remain as appointed and not leave my post, but standing upon such a rock as that upon which God placed great Moses, no, the great presence of God, her Holy One. It wasn't a man. Watch with a prophetess's eye for the solution of the things that I seek. And we'll continue down. Sipa, to spy or watch, to wait for the answer from God. To wait for the answer from God. Look at that. This watching was lively and assiduous diligence on the part of the prophet. What does assiduous mean? Showing a great care and perseverance. You have to persevere in the truth, and that means being patient and waiting long to persevere over to get the truth, right? So this watching was lively and assiduous diligence on the part of the prophetess, and carefully observing everything that took place in the spirit of her mind, and presented itself either to be seen or heard. To speak in me, not merely to or with me, since the speaking of God to the prophetesses was an internal speaking and not one that was perceptible from without. What I shall answer to my complaint, namely, first of all to myself and then to the rest. Correction, contradiction. Habakkuk refers to the complaint which she raises against God in Habakkuk 1:13-17, namely, that she let the wicked go on unpunished. This was her complaint. You have continued to let the wicked go unpunished. Why? Why have you done that? She will wait for the answer from God to this complaint to quiet her own heart. This is what we do to seek. When we seek the truth and we find the truth and we let God give us that truth, that's us waiting for the answer upon our high tower. That's our rebuke. This is our court case, and God is actually giving us our defense if we listen. And we'll get into this, okay? Habakkuk refers to the complaint which she raised against God, namely that she let the wicked go on unpunished. She will wait for an answer from God to this complaint to quiet her own heart, which is dissatisfied with the divine administration. I know I am. You call this God organization that we have, you call this the God administration. It's sorely lacking badly. Thus she draws a sharp distinction between her own speaking and the speaking of the Spirit God within her. Jehovah gives the answer in what follows. First of all, commanding her to write the vision and the revelation from God to be received by inward intuition upon tables, so clearly that men may be able to read it in running quite easily. I think what it means is it'll be quite easily perceived and understood. It's going to reason. It's going to make sense. Now, where else do I want to go? So we go to Baines. We got to look for Baines here. Okay. Isaiah 42. Okay, so we say wait for an answer right here. Let's just right quick, for quick reference, before we go on and read any more commentary, we're going to go to Hosea 2:15, all right? And what do we find in Hosea 2:15? This is what God says. And unless you look the words up, you don't really know really what they're trying to say. So Hosea 2:15, she says, there I will give her back her vineyards, and I will make the valley of Achor a door of hope, and there she will, what's this? Respond. That's the word. Respond as in the days of her youth, as in the days that she came up out of where? Egypt. God's trying to show us something here, clearly. And there's no denying what God is going to show us here. Okay, so let's pull this up. God's trying to get us out of the land of Egypt. You know what the land of Egypt was? Idolatry. The land of idolatry. They bowed to idols. And when the Israelites left the land of Egypt, they took idolatry with them. So we're going to look at this word. They have it translated in, when you go into the interlinear, as sing. She will sing, as in the days of her youth when she came up. You know what it is? 6030. It means to answer and to respond. She will answer and respond to me, as she did in the days of her youth when she came up out of Egypt. You see the repetition going on here, don't you? I do. So sing, shout, testify, announce, right? That's pretty cool to know, isn't it? That it's not respond, it means to answer. So when we go back to Habakkuk 2:1, Watch what it says here. All right. So where was it? 2:15. I just did that. I was just looking at something here. Okay, so maybe I don't want to go to 2:15. Well, I thought I wanted to go to 2:15 here. Where do I have that wrote down? Okay, so we'll go back and we'll keep reading until it hits me. Okay, it must have been over here maybe. Yeah, it was Habakkuk 2:1. So how does that correlate to that? She'll respond and answer to me, right? So Habakkuk 2:1 says, I will stand at my watch and station myself on the ramparts. I will look to see what she will say to me and what answer I am to give to this complaint. Okay? So is that not the sounding of a court case? 2:1. So the word we actually want to go right in on and look at is set myself. It's 3320. Watch. To take one stand. Again, this is your argument, your defense, which is why it's called your tower, right? To set or station oneself, to take one stand. Present yourself. Oh, we got present yourself. So when I hit that, present yourself, it took me somewhere. It took me to another thought. And I did a video on this a long time ago. How long ago it's been, I don't know. Maybe 2 years, something like that. And I didn't have a full grasp on the verse at that time. And I knew that I didn't at the time. But I said, well, it'll change over time. Like I've often said, in study, as you get another piece of the puzzle and another piece of the puzzle, then your understanding will fully grow as you wait for those revelations. So you present yourself, remaining, set selves, be able to, can, withstand, fast, forth, to place, to station, offer, continue, present selves, remaining, resort. So where else, can your mind think of something? Present yourself? I automatically went to Jose. That's the automatic place where I went to. Jose. This is the passage. Where is it? Well, what's up? Where is it? That's not the passage. Is it the first one over here? Right there. So Hosea 13, this is what I pulled up. When I asked Hosea 13:13-15, this is what it says. When birth pangs signaled it was time to be born, get it? Ephraim was too stupid to come out of the womb. When the passage into life opened up, I had this wrong in my study 2 years ago. She didn't show. Shall I intervene and pull them into life? Shall I snatch them from certain death? Oh, yeah, I would say she's going to have to. We've got to wait for the answer that she's going to give us. That's what we have to do. And you only do that by pulling away from the flesh and all that the flesh wants to teach you about himself. And those wicked women who, with a smug smile on their face, will beam and say he, when they're in deep shame and don't seem to even know it and realize it and think they're wise in their stupidness. So when birth pangs signaled it was time to be born, Ephraim was too stupid to come out of the womb to present himself in some of the passages here. Actually, it's herself. When we understand that Ephraim was the feminine. But we lost the witness in Egypt, in the Exodus. That's what happened. We're actually told they murdered them, really. So the sorrows of a travailing woman shall come upon him. He is an unwise son, for he should not stay long in the place of the breaking forth of children. But only when the Red Sea is parted and the birthing canal is opened out of Egypt, can we then present ourselves with our case? And it'll be only those who can present their case, their argument, who bother to listen to the revelations of God by going up to the high tower within themselves in their spirit, not listening to the stupid man who wants to go up to the signs in the heavens and tell you it's he coming. She's waiting for you to respond. Now, why would that be so? We'll go back to the commentaries here in a minute. Why would that be so? This took me in my thoughts as well to, where is it? Jude 1. Jude 1:6. You know what it says? So we got to get this in context. And that means going in and looking at the words. And this absolutely put it in proper context for me. And the angels who did not keep their position of authority, your dominion, but abandoned their proper dwelling. That's a house in the forest of Lebanon. There was 2 tabernacles in existence, not one. These not he has kept. She has kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment on the great day. Well, we have to understand these words to know what is actually in view here. All right? Now, let's see. Can we pull them up here? Okay. Where is it? I'm looking for it. It should be right there. It's just being difficult. It don't want to give me my interlinear. We're still going to wait a minute here. It's been doing this to me all day. Just really struggling with study here. Okay, there we go. Okay. So verse 6, let's go in on interlinear, if it'll let me. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, she has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. Okay, so interlinear. What does it say? Own. I want to look at own. Having left their own estate. Domain 746. They left their chiefs, is what they left. Their head. They left their heads. And they kept not their own, what's this? One's own belonging to one. Private, personal, one's own people, one's own family, home, and property. All right, down we go. Peculiar to individuals. Okay, let's go down. Private, proper, themselves, individually. Just like we said, there's 2 houses in existence. Properly, uniquely one's own, peculiar to the individual, uniquely one's own, is stronger than the simple possessive pronoun own. They left their first estate. Now, we hit a word in Zephaniah 2:10, didn't we? In the last video that we did. And that word took us to the understanding of them being took prisoners in cohabitation. So where is it? It was, they have, because they reproached. It was 2778. That was the word in Zephaniah 2:10. So when we scroll down, this is what we read. A primitive root, meaning to pull off. That took us to Micah 2. They were ripping off the robe, which represents the glory, and the garment, which represented the body in allegory. But they were ripping their robe and their garment to expose, as by stripping. So, and they were as men at war. All right? And the men were attacking their house, their individual property, and rights and sanctity to individuality. All right? So then we had these words, to expose as by stripping, specifically to betroth. as if a surrender. They surrendered in the marriage covenant. That's where you surrender, because this is the covenant to be disannulled. They tore her house down. This is what we begin to understand. So when we go back to Jude, all right, Jude 1 parallel, where is it? Is that the one? Pertaining to one's self, one's own. What is one's own? Belonging to another. Okay, we go down. What pertains to one's property, family, dwelling. A person who may be said to belong to one above all others. Severally or severely separately apart, in private. One's own, apart, aside, due. Pertaining to self, one's own. By implication, private or separate. Her acquaintances, when they were alone, apart, aside, due, his, no, her, own, proper, home, business, privately, proper, severely own. What do they tell us? We're one down here, well, in the marriage covenant, and he's your head, and he'll tell you what to do, though he's got the harlot exalted in his heart, as evidenced by Isaiah 47. So they left their first estate, that's true. But what does the rest of the verse imply? The angels both not having kept, and there's another word that they don't translate here, their own domain. Well, the dominion will be restored back to its states because it was hers from the beginning. But having left their own dwelling, now did I want to look at dwelling? I don't know that I have to look up dwelling. Their habitation, their residence. They left their own habitation and dwelling. The judgment, and they're chained in darkness unto the judgment. So what's the word judgment here? You know what it is? It's noun feminine, a decision, judgment, decision, sentence. Generally, divine judgment or an accusation. So is she going to be able to respond to the accusation after she's been chained in darkness? What's darkness? What did we discover darkness meant? We discovered it meant you were under a religious lie. There's a cloud between you and God. She placed a cloud there. 2920, crisis, a feminine noun, derived from 2919, krino, to separate, distinguish, judge. Judgment, emphasizing its qualitative aspect that can apply either to a positive verdict for righteousness. That's if you've quietly withdrawn into yourself to listen for God's revelation to your soul and to your spirit, so that you might be able to present yourself at the opening, Ephraim, not play the stupid daughter by bowing to an idol and sharing his house like a harlot and taking his instructions because you don't have your own head because you cast her off. That's the daughter of Israel, the Holy One, our mother. But not all of them did. We see that part of her revelation was that the sons did not want them in covenant and that they were as men at war and they were rejecting them. So that's part of her answer in this verdict or this judgment here. Stress is the result that goes with a particular judgment of blessing or pain depending on the choice. A sentence. Then we go. A trial, a contest. A tribunal. A right. It's a right to have your case heard. Condemnation, damnation, judgment, decision. Subjectively or objectively for or against. By extension, a tribunal. By implication, justice, especially of divine law. Accusations, condemnations, damnation, judgment. So it's a judgment going forth. It's a tribunal. Where did we find a court case where she had to respond? No longer will I be silent, she says in Isaiah 42. So what's a tribunal? Well, it's a court of justice. That's what it is. And she has to present her case. And that case can be presented when she presents herself before the opening of the womb. We're trapped in Sheol, the womb of Sheol. And only when she gives us the answer to be able to divide the Red Sea, which is allegorical to your birthing canal, we realized, which is the admixture of doctrine, your wine on the table that the priests got drunk on and spewed filth over the table, which she then becomes coated in, has to be washed off of the daughters, Isaiah 4:4, with the truth. And that's what allows you to part the Red Sea, allegorical to the birthing canal, straight out of the land of Egypt, the land of idolatry, where you're bowed at the feet of your husband's feet, Baal. We discussed that in the last video. And you are to wait for the revelation of the vision. And so we're going to go back and read some more commentary, because then we realize that it's not an it, the vision. The it is an actual person, is what it says in one of the particular commentaries. So here we get this tribunal. They're chained in darkness. So the interesting thing, and I won't go in here and show you the word. You can look, was that one of the words in Jude 1 was, what was it? A cord. It had the idea, it lent itself to the idea of a hamstring, a cord. And we know that the Holy One hamstrung Jacob when he stole her birthright. But it was with that cord that got pulled out of his leg that he, according to this, it's neat, the play on words, bound her with. And I still haven't fully grasped its full meaning. I really haven't. See, it won't let me go in on interlinear now. Okay, there we go. Bound. The word is bound. Watch this. Okay? So, because I still got to think about it. I'm going to let y'all think about it too. Who's the few that's interested in presenting your case when we have to appear. Where's the word? Chains. The word was chains here. I believe it's chain. Let's look at it. A bond, chain, imprisonment, a string or ligament, an impediment, an infirmity. So she hamstrung him because he was her enemy, but he took the hamstring and he bound her with it. That's what he did. That's your play on words there. Let me see. Let me see. I just wanted to ask, is a hamstring a ligament? Just, because I like to be thorough. A hamstring injury involves straining or pulling one of the hamstring muscles, the group of 3 muscles that run along the back of the thigh. Hamstring injuries often occur in people who play sports that involves, yes. I wanted to know if it's what you call a ligament. Okay, then we'll do this. This new computer don't operate like my old one would have answered that. I know it would have. Define ligament. A short band of tough, flexible, fibrous connective tissue which connects 2 bones or cartilage or holds together a joint. So I would say a hamstring is a ligament, right? And that's important because of the word chain. Where is it? It's hard to keep track of these. There's hamstring here. Court decision. Band. Is that it? Yeah. A ligament. So, we understand now she got bound when she hamstrung him. That's when she got bound. A band, a ligament, because he also stole her. It was a symbol. He stole her birthright. And so he steals her birthright. He gets a hold of the hamstring. That hamstring binds her in bands of darkness is what it does. A ligament of the body or shackle of a prisoner, figuratively, an impediment or disability, band, bond, chain, string, or also ligament. So then we go to darkness here, 2217, and she keeps her darkness, murkiness, gloom. That's the womb of Sheol. That's where we are. Referring to darkness so dense and foreboding, it is felt figuratively apocalyptic. Oh, don't we talk about that here every day of our lives? And for those who wants to stay in the womb of Sheol, it says your own sins will come upon you. They're locked up for you, and you live them every day of your life, because every day you reject the Holy One is every day that you live in darkness and gloom and apocalyptic and in the womb of Sheol and too much pride, with dung smeared across your face with a big old grin on your face, thinking you're smart for it, going he. And so sure, you're right, because you won't go up to the high tower and wait for the revelation. You won't. You're too busy listening to the men who are going up to the heavens and showing you signs from the hosts of heaven. Yeah. Instead of seeking it out in the word, yet she that has my word, let her speak it. For what is chaff to the wheat? Okay. So we covered all of those. Right. Okay, and I also have Hosea 4:16 to 19. Whoa. Okay, and also in Jude 1. This one here. No. Darkness with gloom. I didn't scroll down yet. I didn't finish scrolling down on that, did I? I did not. As shrouding like a cloud. Right. And what does it say? God placed a cloud between us and the true living God. But the cloud also can become a cloud of witnesses that are brought to the Ancient of Days, yep, she, who we present our case to. We come forth out of the womb of Sheol. So why is it Ephraim? Why isn't it Judah? This is the child being born. That's who this is. This is the child, Ephraim, the firstborn of mother's womb, who is a daughter, not a son, who is finally caught up to the throne of her mother. Who shall ascend into my holy hill? She with clean hands and pure heart. The only one we could find in scriptures with a clean hand and pure heart was the Shulamite, who also happens to have this little flock of she-goats called a double camp, also referred to as the lilies of the covenant. The little she-goat is also mentioned in Genesis 15:9. We get David speaking of the lilies of the covenant, or the lily of the covenant, which is why we get the Shulamite in Song of Songs. And then she's got this little double camp called Mahanaim, which traces us straight back to the presence of God, known as the camp of God, that Jacob actually wrestles with and steals her birthright, and then she gets hamstrung. Then she gets that little cord wrapped, actually in the future generations, because she was the one that actually died because they rejected their very own chief. They didn't want her, and yet she promises this, again in Hosea 13:13 to 15. When birth pain signaled it was time to be born, to come out of the womb, Ephraim was too stupid to come out of the womb, because you won't listen to the revelation, you won't listen to the vision. Yet when the vision speaks, it's going to speak, which is going to take us to Isaiah 48. When the passage into life opened up, she didn't show. Shall I intervene and pull them into life? Shall I snatch them from certain death? I believe she's intervened through the seventh trumpet, and I think that's me. That sounds arrogant, and I know it, and I don't want to be arrogant. I just want to do what God wants me to do, and I feel like God's telling me that this is what I'm supposed to do. And I've had it validated. I know the key of David was gave to me. I know it's the only thing that I've found so far that can expand the scriptures. I've read what Christ's supposing expanding of the scriptures were, and all they are is him. He was the expounding of the scriptures every time. Him. And God has something to say to that. It's important. And we're going to get to that in just a second. We're going to go back to our commentaries here. There it is. And keep reading, because there's more important things to read here. If I can actually think to hit them. So let's go to, this is an important one, Burns. We'll go to the Burns commentary. We'll read some of that. The question, okay, this is not that one. This is the Dietrich, the Kiel and Dieltzek. Okay, so though not expressed, may be explained from the question is a disputed one whether this command is to be understood literally or merely figuratively, simply denoting the great importance of the prophecy and consequent necessity for it to be made accessible to the whole nation. The passage is quoted in support of the literal view of the actual writing of the prophecy, which follows upon tables, found in Isaiah 8:1, Isaiah 38, Jeremiah 30, verse 2, are not decisive. In Jeremiah 30, verse 2, the prophet is commanded to write all of the words of the Lord in a book. And so again, in Isaiah 38, it is synonymous with, and it gives a word here. But in Isaiah 8:1, there are only two significant words which a prophet is to write upon a large table after having taken witnesses. So there you got your witnesses. We're going to find them again in Isaiah 48. There's so much spillage here. You really need to go in, if you're able to, and pull up all the commentaries on Habakkuk 2:3, even 2:1 and 2:2, and go through them and see how they actually link to Isaiah 48. But understand we're talking about the divine feminine, the Holy One that was rejected. And that was, okay, so before we go on here again, this was where I was also wanting to go, which was in 2 Kings 19. What does it say? And this links to this passage in Hosea 13 to 15. This is all concerning the vision. They told her, this is what Hezekiah says. This day is a day of distress and rebuke and disgrace. And when children come to the moment of birth and there is no strength to deliver them. You see, what does it mean not to have strength here? We're going to look this word up. That's why I had this down. And they said unto her, thus saith Hezekiah, this day is a day of trouble and of rebuke and blasphemy. They were blaspheming the one that could deliver the children. That's she, the Holy One. And she says, the daughter of Zion has shaken her head at thee. To whom have you blasphemed? You have blasphemed the Holy One. That was the daughter sitting there. She's the only one that can birth you through. But what does it say? And they said unto her, thus saith Hezekiah, this is a day of trouble. We find the valley of vision in Isaiah 22 was a day of trouble and perplexity for the Lord. And it was a day of rebuke and blasphemy. She says, now I will rebuke you, fallen Adam, and I will set the case in order. That's Asaph, your gatherer, and the Koheleth setting the Proverbs in order. Why? So she can be able to appear at the opening, and if you can't appear at the opening to present your case, guess what? You stay bound up within all the sins that are bound up in there in the womb of Sheol, and you will live under that gloom and darkness. A disgrace because the children have come to the point of birth, and there is not strength to bring forth. Let's look up the word strength. What's strength? Well, we know what it means to be strong, but it's 3:5. I think it's 3:5. 3561. 3581 rather. And this means it is a small reptile of unknown species, but you know what it supposedly means? Ability. There is not the ability to bring forth the children. They had lost their ability, the women, because the sons had begun to rebuke them, stab them in the back, shoot them with their arrows under the covenant that is to be disannulled, that has her leaving her own habitation for the man's, playing his harlot under the religious lie in law of this guise of the fake covenant of marriage, where he's her head and she must do what his heart and head wants, which is that he's got the harlot exalted in there. We're in the land of Egypt yet. We haven't been birthed out of it. And only when the daughter of Ephraim can present her case at the opening of the womb, which is provided by the Spirit in her defense, for her defense, can she be birthed out and take her throne? That's right. We found the Shulamite was the only one who had clean hands and a pure heart. It says, who shall ascend into my holy hill? Hey, with clean hands. No, it's mother's house. And she's quite upset about it. She's very upset about it. Because the mother says, when you turned on my daughters, you turned on me. So, strength. It means, I had a couple here pulled out. In governing the world, specifically of her wisdom and mighty and strength of mind. There's your high tower. And you're only going to receive the revelation when you pull yourself back from this physical realm and begin to ask questions. And one of the questions comes by way of complaint by the prophetess. She says, why is such evil allowed to go unpunished? Getting the answer now. Ability, strength, might, force. Substance, wealth. So there is not strength to bring forth the children. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Habakkuk, our commentaries. Great importance of prophecy and the consequent necessity for it to be made accessible to the whole nations. Let me see here. Let's go down. I'm skimming it. I don't want to miss the things that had really... Oh, stop. Grabbed me when I read it the first time around. The reason for the writing is given in Habakkuk 2:3. The prophecy for the appointed time, it relates to the period fixed by God for its realization, which was then and still far off. Denotes direction towards a certain point, either of place or time. The vision had a direction towards a point, which when looked at from the present was still in the future. This goal was the end, towards which it hastened, the last time. The messianic times in which the judgment would fall upon the power of the world. It pants for the end, it strives to reach the end to which it refers. True prophecy is inspired, as it were, by an impulse to fulfill itself. Blank is not an adjective, but the third person imperfect hipfil of puok in the contracted form without a voluntative meaning is the same as we frequently meet within the loftier style of composition and does not deceive. Will it shortly take place? If it, the vision tarry, be not fulfilled immediately, wait for it will surely take place. Okay, so did I have that one down? Okay, we definitely want to go to, where is it? Did I go by it? Okay, let me see here. Okay, Burns note. Okay, so we'll go down here, because it was a particular passage in here. I think it was. Okay, so maybe I wanted to read all of it. I'm sorry this is taking so long. We ain't hit Isaiah 48, but it's absolutely important that we do. For the vision is yet for on the appointed time, not for the present, but to develop itself in the course of time, down to a season which God only knows, as it is subsequently repeated. For it is for the appointed time, and for the end is yet for the appointed time, for it is for the appointed time of the end, and is explained in Daniel. For the vision is yet for the days, for it is for many days, the house of Israel say, the vision that she seeth is for many days, and she prophesied of the times far off. Well, okay, Daniel said he saw these prophecies afar off. Yet it should haste towards the end, towards its fulfillment, so that if it is not at once fulfilled, it should be surely waited for. It shall certainly be not in vain, hath it been shown, but as certainly to be. For whatever has been shown to come and to be, will come and be. But at the end, it shall speak, or it breatheth, or it hasteth to the end, not simply to its own fulfillment, but to that time of the end, which should close the period assigned to it, during which it should continually be putting itself forth. It should come true in part or in shadow. Gleams of it should be here, and then part the clouds, which until the end should surround and envelop that. And that's what we had. The witnesses died in the land of Egypt, and so the clouds come in. When the witnesses can stand up and present their case, which is the daughter of Israel, the Holy One, and you see the virgins being brought with her to the Ancient of Days to present her case, and we see the dominion restored. They are the witnesses that are able to part the clouds of darkness upon the world. So it's so much allegory. Being God's truth, she speaks of it as an animate living thing, not a dead letter, but running, hasting on its course, and accomplishing on its way that for which it was sent. The will and purpose of God hasteth us on, though to man it seemeth to tarry. It can neither be hurried on, nor doth it linger. Before the appointed time it cometh not. Yet it hasteth towards it, and will not be behindhand. When the time comes, it does not lie, either by failing to come or failing, when come of any jot or tittle, though it tarry or linger, continually appearing, giving signs of itself, yet continually delaying its coming. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not be behindhand. When the time comes, she cometh quickly. Also as she saith, because from Dion, though the delay of her coming and of the fulfillment of the vision seems long, yet in comparison with eternity, it is very short. In her first coming, where she was rejected, now they got the first coming of Jesus. That was only 2,000 years ago. What happened 4,000 years prior to that? Well, I'll tell you what happened. They lied. There's a little book of truth sealed up in there. She is the beginning, she is the end. She was the rejected stone in the beginning. She held the law of heaven on her tongue, which they didn't want to receive off of her tongue. She's also the end when she comes with the truth to be fulfilled. So they can stick an idol in there 2,000 years ago, and that is what it is. I don't dispute that there was a Joshua in existence. He's spoken of in the Old Testament, and I do happen to believe he died defending her law and her right as the sovereign Lord, is what I believe. The waiting to which she exhorts and expresses the religious acts so often spoken of waiting for God, of her counsel, or of her promise. The sense then is wholly the same. When Paul uses the words of the coming of our Lord herself, yet a little while, and she that shall come will come and will not tarry. So again, we come back to the idea in its own time. You don't determine what the end is. God will determine what that is. And when that end begins to appear in God's time, God will send forth the vision, which is actually represented by a person. If I can just find this right quick. She came to put down the mighty from their seat and to exalt the humble and meek. But much more in the second coming, when she shall come to judge the world with righteousness and the people with her truth, and to reward every man according to his works. At all times she seemeth continually to linger, to give signs of her coming, yet she cometh not. And when the appointed season shall come, she shall be found not to be later than her word. Yea, all time shall shrink up into a little moment in the presence of a never-ending, ever-present eternity. Okay. So is this it? Okay, that's not it. not there. Okay, so now we go down to the Jameson Fawcett Brown Bible commentary. Scroll down here. Oh, why does that do that? Sorry. Last paragraph of it. At the end it shall speak. Morer states it pants for the end, but the antithesis between it shall speak and not be silent. It won't be silent. Long time have I held my peace. Now will I go forth as a travailing woman. Ephraim is a stupid child, and she does not present herself at the opening when you can be birthed into life. They're stupidly bowed down at the feet of an idol yet, which is every work. You'll be judged for every work that you do. When birth pangs signaled it was time to be born. You think we're not in birth pains? It was time to be born. Ephraim was too stupid to come out of the womb when the passage into life opened up. Are you going to be stupid? She didn't show. Shall I intervene and pull them into life? Shall I snatch them from certain death? Go back into the womb of Sheol to live through all the iniquities that are stored up for you. That's where they're bound, in the womb of Sheol. Oh, come on. So, it shall not be silent. Makes English version the better rendering. So the Hebrews translate it literally, breathe out words and break forth as a blast. Now, I was going to take us to Job there, but I think we're really going to have a long video if I keep on. So we know that God blasts the nostrils, the blast of life. In Job, is it Job 4? It's Job 4 or Job 26. So you can go look that particular verse up. I was going to go in there, but I can't. Okay. Was that one too? I can't find it. Where it says, it places the vision with as a person. Yeah, though it tarry, wait for it, or though she tarry, wait for her. Not that she really would or did tarry, but she might seem to do so, not coming so soon as the Old Testament saints expected, and as they wished for and desired. It was a long time from the first promise of her, and sometimes the saints were ready to give it up, and their hearts to sink and faint, because it was seemingly deferred. This shows that this prophecy does not respect the Babylonian captivity, for that had not seeming delay, but as soon as ever the 70 years were up, for that had no seeming delay. But as soon as ever the 70 years were up, there was a deliverance from it. Sorry, I repeated myself there. But the Messiah's coming was long expected and seemed to be deferred. And the patience of the saints was almost wore out. But they are here encouraged, when this was the case, still to wait for her, as good old Simeon and others did. Did they really? No, that was just a lie thrown in there. That's what that was. It's absolutely what it was. We've proven this. Ephraim is the firstborn in mother's womb. We're told that in Isaiah 49, is it? Or maybe it is Hosea. And she is the firstborn. She's the firstborn daughter. And is she with clean hands and a pure heart? You only find one with clean hands and a pure heart that can ascend into her mother's throne. Pick thyself up out of the dust of the earth, O daughter of Zion. Shake thyself from the chain. You have been a captive under a religious lie and lie. You have not stood up for your own temple. So wait for the coming on the high tower. And one does. At least one does. Not the present vision only, but the vision of prophecy in general. It was a doubt that arose in the mind of the prophets and other good men. We'll go down so we can skip to Isaiah 48. Go in and read this. There's the preacher. Yeah, I wanted the preacher too. I think it's here. Yeah, right there. So we will read, I think it's Gills that we're going to read. Let's go back up just so we can reference it. I'll put the link down below. Gill's exposition of the entire Bible. This is this commentary, and we're going to scroll to the second paragraph, I think. But at the end it shall speak and not lie, or rather she shall speak. And so in the following clauses it should be rendered not it, but not he, she. And so the apostle has taught us to interpret it of a person and not a thing, that is, at the end of the time appointed, or at the end of the Jewish state, both civil and ecclesiastic, the Messiah should appear as she did, which is called the end of the world, when the new world began, when the world to come, the gospel dispensation, no, the truth, the dispensation of the truth, which has been denied from the beginning. Being come, she shall speak, or as it may be rendered at the end thereof, shall be the speaker or preacher. See, now there we get the preacher that you find in Ecclesiastes 12, which is your female assembler, your Koheleth. And she assembles the Proverbs in order so that she might rebuke fallen Adam with his religious lies and laws in her court case. Preacher that shall publish and proclaim the glad tidings. No, it wasn't the preacher. It was a village of women surrounding their own head who had been burned to ashes, but was promised to be reborn out of the dust of the earth. So, no, it ain't the preacher, a man here. It is the daughter, the village of women that will publish and proclaim the glad tidings, not of this lying gospel, but of the truth. The good tidings of truth. This is the answer that she was looking for, a response to why evil men go unpunished. This was her answer. This was God's answer, her rebuke that she would be able to respond with. That shall publish and proclaim the glad tidings of the truth, and disagrees with not Christ, but with the true living word that was upon this earth, called the daughter of Israel, who was the rejected stone. She was the outcast daughter that no man sought a covenant with, because he had exalted the harlot spirit inside of his heart. And then he says, I'm your head, you're going to play my harlot in a marriage covenant. And she surrendered in that, because she had no alternative. Otherwise, well, she would have died. And many of these women chose to go and play the harlot instead of taking death and truth in where they would have found resurrection in the next life. So the word of God, the great prophetess that should be raised up in the church, not the church, in her inheritance, the daughters of Israel. The teacher sent of God, the wonderful counselor, the faithful witness. She's the only faithful one regarded in scriptures that I can find. Who spoke out the whole mind and will of God. Published the everlasting, not gospel, but the truth, the glad tidings of that truth. Delivered out the doctrine of grace and truth, and spoke such words of grace as never man did. And with such power and authority as the scribes and the Pharisees did not. Some render the words, and she shall speak, she shall break forth as the morning. That's the doe of the dawn. That's right. That's not a he. A doe is a female. That's also your she-goat who climbs to the mountain. That's right. And finally receives what she will answer in her high tower. That's right. Her defense, her rebuke to fallen Adam. Once she wins that case, and the dominion is restored back to her in Psalm 2. She is the firstborn of mother's womb. Mother births her there. She says, this day have I decreed you are my daughter, not son. So she takes her back. That's her branch that she's taking back. That's right. Her branch, her scepter, she's taking back there in Psalm 2. And if you doubt for a second, it's Psalm 2. No, it takes you back to Proverbs 1, where she says, I will laugh in the day of your calamity. You couldn't listen to anything I had to say. So you think I feel sorry? Sure, I feel pity and sorrow for a time. And then when you absolutely refuse to listen to anything I got to say, then judgment does fall upon you. And that's a set time, at that time. She should not lie. This is the character of God herself, as opposed to a mere man who is subject to lying and deceit, and suits well with the Holy One, who is truly God and not a mere man. and answers to her character and prophecy and fact, and that there was no guile in her mouth and lips. Yes, she cannot deceive. She was not subject to bribery. This is why those chained in darkness are brought forth to present their case. Yeah, it's a court case. It's a tribunal. They're hoping, the men, the Adam, Baal, Satan, is hoping that she's found guilty because she won't be able to present her case. Well, guess what? Ephraim isn't too stupid to come out of the womb when the passage into life finally opens up. She's not that stupid. She gets it. Okay, this is really good. I'd like to read it all, but again, we're getting long on time. And we'll finish with this. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, Geneva Study Bible, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, though she may tarry, wait for her, because she will surely come, she will not tarry, which contained the destruction of the enemy and the comfort of Israel, her inheritance, her new branch. And even though God does not execute this according to man's hasty affections, yet the issue of both is certain at her appointed time. Now, to find that appointed time, we're going to rush over to Isaiah 48. There we go. No. Okay. We'll get there, maybe. Okay, there we go. And we're going to start reading pretty quick. I actually wanted to do a good job on this, so I'm sorry. Let's go back. I had pulled out particular verses on this and wrote them down. Where are they? Was this the book? I think this was the book I wrote them in. I should have. Oh, now I can't remember the book I wrote them in. What book did I write them in? Okay, well, I at least know a couple of them when I hit them. Okay, so hear ye this, O house of not Jacob, Israel, which are called by my name, which is Israel. Galatians 4, the mother of us all is from above. Jerusalem has the idea of peace. She's called Zion because it has the idea of a new branch brought forth out of the earth for her. But she's made in her mother's image. All daughters are. We're not made in our father's image. And are come forth out of the waters of not Judah, Israel, which swear by the name of the Lord, make mention of the God of Israel, but not in truth nor in righteousness, and they don't. So you could maybe put Judah, they come out of the polluted waters of Judah, and Judah had told the daughters inside the nation of Israel, after we made two idols, everybody made an idol of a male and a female, and then the males, the king, saw fit to tear down the female idols, and then told all of them, hey, you can come and worship at our altar. And so there you get the polluted waters of Judah, which swear by the name of the Lord, make mention of the God of Israel, but not in truth nor in righteousness. They don't even know who she is. For they call themselves of the holy city and stay themselves upon the God of Israel, the Lord of hosts, not is his name, is her name. I have declared the former things from the beginning, and they went forth out of my mouth, and I showed them. I did them suddenly, and they came to pass. She gets mad here because she says, I told you these things. We'll go to this rendering because I really like it so much. What's the rendering? NIV. Although all of them are really good to read. So, I foretold the former things long ago. My mouth announced them. That was she. She says, I planned this a long time ago in 2 Kings 19. She says, I planned it a long time ago. There is not strength to bring forth the children. She says, I stayed your proud waters. You weren't going to birth children out of the womb of Sheol with this idolatrous lie on your tongue. Man, is God not coming into my heavens? Nope. I foretold the former things long ago. My mouth announced them, and I made them known. Then suddenly I acted, and they came to pass. For I knew how stubborn you were. Your neck muscles were iron, and your forehead was bronze. They had hardened an argument and a defense in their mind, and you weren't going to tell them any different. This was also happening to her daughters. They were refusing to stand up for their own house, their own rights, their own body, claiming that he had it all right and he was their head. She must submit to him and his idol and his lies. That's why there was not strength to deliver the children. It is the women that were responsible for doing it. And they were turning away from their own head, which was she, daughter Israel, 136, the Holy One. Therefore I told you these things long ago. Before they happened, I announced them to you so that you could not say. This was one of the main verses. This is so important. You have not heard anything that the key of David has expounded to you until I began to expound them. And yes, I'm going to stick me in there. Because for some reason, God pulled me out and chose me as one in the new branch. Yeah. And she calls many forth. Many are called, few are chosen. So before I began to tell you what the key of David was, what the scriptures were saying, you had heard nothing of them, which is what this verse is saying. Verse 5, therefore I told you these things long ago. Before they happened, I announced them to you so that you could not say, my image just brought them about. My wooden image and metal God ordained them. What does that take you to? She says, my glory, I will not give it to another. She told it to her daughters. That's who she tells it to. Because her glory goes upon us, not an image or an idol. So what does it say again? Therefore I told you these things long ago. Before they happened, I announced them to you so that you could not say, my images brought them about, my wooden images and metal God ordained them. You have heard these things. Look at them all. Will you not admit them? Will you not admit that this is truth? Bring forth your witnesses so that ye may say, this is truth. That is also found in Isaiah here somewhere. Isaiah 40 to 45, she says it, I believe. Bring forth your witnesses. Bring them forth so that you may say, this is truth. Bring them forth, which is what she's saying here. You have heard these things. Look at them all. Will you not admit them? From now on, I will tell you of new things, of hidden things unknown to you. Now will I go forth as a travailing woman. I will destroy and I will devour at once. I will lead you in pathways that you have not known. That is the revelation of the Spirit giving our defense to us, if we're not too stupid to listen to it. They are created now and not long ago. You have not heard of them before today, so you cannot say, yes, I knew of them. Because you know what they did? They rejected Mother long ago and her daughters. So this is a brand new thing, a brand new idea. You have neither heard nor understood. From of old your ears have not been opened. Well, do I know how treacherous you are? You are called a rebel from birth. Who's that? Satan. Who did we find that was a name in disguise for, really? Adam. Fallen Adam. Your husband. You were called a rebel from birth. For my own name's sake, I delayed my wrath. For the sake of my praise, I hold it back from you, so as not to destroy you completely. See, I have refined you, though. I have refined you, though not as silver. So though we get the allegory of silver, she says, you're not silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction. She says, you will be astonished at what they will do to you. At what this loving covenant of your husband will do to you, and what affliction it will bring upon your house, though you denied your own. You abandoned your own habitation when you fell into his lie. For my own sake I do this. How can I let myself be defamed? I will not yield my glory to another. My truths, my revelations will come through my daughters. I will not let woman be defamed because she is my spirit representation on earth. And what does it say about the daughters in Zephaniah 3:18? You have defamed and debased my daughters. I will get them fame and glory in every land where they were put to shame. Why? Why were they put to shame? Well, we just discussed all of this, didn't we? Listen to me, Jacob, Israel. No, listen to me, Israel, whom I have called. I am she. I am the first and the last. Who was that? That was daughter Israel. That's who that was. And she goes by the name 136, Adonai, in the Old Testament. She's also the one that was laying as an ash heap in Psalm 68, who the women, her village, surrounded. Yet her wings, that's heavenly authority, that's what wings are a symbol of, will be covered in silver and gold. I am the first and I am the last. My own hand laid the foundations of the earth, and my right hand spread out my daughters. Spread out the heavens. That's the host, the children. When I summon them, they all stand up together. They know me. Yeah. Come together, all of you, and listen. Which of the idols has foretold these things? The Lord's chosen ally will carry out her purpose against Babylon, and her arm will be against the Babylonians. This is current day prophecy. I have spoken, yes, I have called her. I'll bring her, and she will succeed in her mission. It's not a hymn. They got a hymn there. This is Ephraim. This is the firstborn of mother. Come near me and listen to this. From the first announcement, I have not spoken in secret. At the time it happens, I am there. There you go with at that time. At that time, I appear to you. Right? I will speak to you in truth. The vision will speak. I will speak. And now the sovereign Lord has sent me endowed with her spirit. Come near me and listen to this. From the first announcement, I have not spoken in secret. At the time it happens, I am there. She's here with us. And now the sovereign Lord has sent me endowed with her spirit. This is what the Lord says, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. That's identified in 2 Kings 19. I am the Lord your God, who teaches you what is best for you, and who directs you in the way you should go. Ask ye for the old paths, seek for them, and walk ye therein them. That's not down at the feet of an idol, beaming with a big old ignorant smile on your face, slathered in dung, if you only but knew it, looking so stupid. Sitting there bowing to a man saying, look what he did. Really? My glory I will not give it to another. If only you had paid attention to my commands, your peace would have been like a river, your well-being like the waves of the sea, and they're still not listening. You can see them. They're hardening their necks, their argument. Their foreheads are orange. She says, don't worry, I'll make yours of diamond. And she does. She chooses us out, and she makes our foreheads hard like diamond. Your descendants would have been like the sand, your children, like its numberless grains. Their name would never be blotted out nor destroyed from before me. Leave Babylon, flee from the Babylonians, announce this with shouts of joy. This is the envoy that is sent in Obadiah 1. Let us rise up against her. That's right, the envoy says in Obadiah 1. And the her that we are to rise up against is the harlot spirit bowed down at the feet of an idol, Jesus. In Christianity's sake, in other religions, it's a different idol. But they're usually always male. And that's why it's considered the harlot spirit in the earth, bound to male God. I seen a stupid little comment. God is not a theory. He's real. God isn't he, number one, dummy. Fell into your own snares, did we? Yeah, sure you did. The Lord has redeemed her servant, Israel. And she redeems us with the truth, which we find when we stand on our high tower and wait for it. What you should answer. You wait for what you should answer. If you can't be bothered and you're too busy bowed down at the feet of an idol, don't worry. You'll be no burden to me. She says, I won't deliver you. That's what she says in Jeremiah 23. See how it all... She's the Lord that delivers. And her alone. And they took that power from her. Well, she let you take that power from her daughters. Because Adam became the accuser, Satan, who daily accuses us, his sisters, in the heavens with religious lies. But there is a pending court case. And we see her, the daughter of woman known as Israel, that's right, who is the Holy One, being brought to her mother, the Ancient of Days, with the case presented. And then in Psalm 2, she gets the decree, this day have I begotten thee. She chooses her out again. She says, I told you, I'll choose you out again. They did not thirst when she led them through the deserts. She made waters flow for them from the rock, and she split the rock and water gushed out. There is no peace, says the Lord, for the wicked. You want to stay in the womb of Sheol and live in the iniquity that has been bound up for you in the womb of Sheol? She says, go for it. There is no peace for you. What does it say? What does it say here? At that time, the vision will speak. She will speak. The one she chooses out to speak. She says, these things you have not heard. Your idol didn't speak them to you. Your idol of Jesus didn't speak them. Your idol of Muhammad didn't speak them to you. Your Pope couldn't speak them to you. Your Shiva couldn't speak them to you. They can't speak to you because they're idols. It's the Spirit that will speak to you in witness against the blood and the water that gets parted by the sword, by the word of God. You see? You see? You see how that works? What was I looking for? Did I find it? I can't remember. There you go. You can receive the truth or reject it. That's entirely up to you. But I can tell you, when these women, in particular, it's the women, this is the snare they lay for us, the men have laid for us to fall into. They have fallen into it, and they do not escape it. They can't get out of that pride that they have just built up in this male idol. He is God, God, God. And you women, we're your head. I've heard that one my whole life from men. I've heard it. That's one of their... I mean, if they know nothing else in this, they know that. Even if they're not saved, supposedly, they know that. Well, man's your head, woman. You have to listen to whatever we say. Yeah, right. Yeah. So the snare that they lay for us to fall into, they fall into it and they do not escape. I can tell you something. It takes a very righteous and precious soul, man of a man, to escape that snare. It really does. The women, on the other hand, when I see them smiling there and acting sanctimoniously righteous, because it's sanctimonious righteousness, and they're going and they're building their idol up, and they don't realize how much shame is really upon them. They have no comprehension, no understanding how the God of heaven is really viewing them. I believe the Lord can literally see you as dung smeared over you. She cut off the smell because earth stank so bad, right? That's why I read an article on the nose of God, and it was very fascinating. It was more or less God couldn't stand the stink of earth, and now we know why. We do. She says, you left your first habitation, your own dominion, your own domain, but yet when we gave our argument back, we win the case and we win our dominion back. We do. Our own domain. The dominion is restored to the high tower. We'll end with this verse that is found in Micah. It's in Micah chapter 4, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. I think it's 4. Micah chapter 4. Oh, right there. Yeah, it is 4. Micah 4, verse 8. And thou, O tower of the flock. Argument of the flock, the stronghold, the strong argument of the daughter of Zion. Unto thee shall it come, even the first dominion. The kingdom shall come to the daughter of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is just another word, the daughter of peace. And you know what brings and restores true peace? The truth. Not a religious lie and a snare on your neck designed to silence you and shut you up. And mother's mad about that. So, we've got our argument. And that brings us to the child that gets birthed up to the throne of her mother. Yeah, that's what it all is. So there we go. There's our video. Sorry I muddled through that. My hair is flat today. Sorry about that. It's an hour and 40. Wow. Sorry about the length of it. I hope you get a chance to watch it and to explore some of the information for yourself and draw some of the deeper connections in your own mind. Withdraw from the spirit, withdraw from the physical, from the flesh. Withdraw from men telling you what it means, and go deep inside yourself in the spirit. Find that high place and seek the revelation of the spirit. Unto yourself she will use you. If you're a willing vessel, she will. And she says, I write the truth on the tablets of your heart. So is that the tablet? Yeah, that just hit me. Does it say tablet of your hearts? Oh my gosh. Can I look for that right quick? I will write the truth on the tablet of your heart. Does it say that? Here you go. That's the tablet that it's written on. Verse, I will write the truth upon the tablets of your heart. Maybe not. Let's see. Write them on the tablet of your heart. There you go. That's Proverbs 3:3. And of course, and I will give you a new heart. In a new spirit I'll put within you, and I'll remove the heart of stone from your flesh. Oh, there you go. Which is what this religion does. Right? They've hardened their neck. They've become cold. They don't want to hear the truth. I'm not sure that isn't referring to the male side of it there. But yeah, there you go. That's the tablet. Oh, we might have to explore that a little bit more in another video. Sorry about that. There's so many connections. We miss so many of them. It is good, I say, the commentary from men. And yet, in through them commentaries, when ain't my face shiny, they still had to write some semblance of truth in there, right? Because that was the ordinance of heaven, which is what actually allows the Spirit to work with us so that we can find that our argument, that truth that is sealed up there in the little book. So there's a video. Thanks for watching. I pray the Lord blesses you with an abundance of truth, and I hope you all have a lovely day. And thanks again for watching.